you are aware by now that last night at midnight, Title 42 ended, and a surge of migrants are expected to come across the southern border. Again, President Biden already telling us it's going to be chaotic for a while. Unlawful crossings have already exceeded 10,000 per day. And border officials anticipate that those numbers are even going to swell even more in the coming days. Well, here to join me now to discuss this and more is U.S. Representative Matt Rosendale. He's a member of the House Freedom Caucus, also the Veterans Affairs Committee and the Committee on Natural Resources. He represents the 2nd Congressional District of Montana. Congressman Rosendale, always great to see you. Welcome back to Washington Watch.
Now, friend, we miss you dearly here in Congress. It's good to be with you, though.
Well, likewise, my friends. Good to see you and miss you as well. All right, listen, we've got an absolute, even the president admitting chaos on the southern border. Secretary Mayorkas has several interviews even this morning pertaining to the end of Title 42. In fact, let me hit a couple of clips here real quickly on some Q&As, questions that he had some interaction with, and get your reaction. Let's start with the Guthrie clip.
You have had 2 years to prepare for this. Why do we have this chaos and confusion at the border?
Savannah, the answer is very, very clear. We are operating within the constraints of a broken immigration system.
Wow. Okay. 2 years to prepare for this. I mean, all they've done, frankly, is dismantle this for the last 2 years. But give me your reaction overall.
Jody, if you go back in time and you play the quotes from Secretary Mayorkas from 2 years ago, he said at that time, we have a plan. Please allow us to carry our plan out. And he has. And his plan has been to allow as many people into our country illegally as he possibly can under this administration. He repeated the exact same quote the other day. We have a plan. Just allow us to execute our plan. He is. They're allowing now an additional millions of people to come into the country. That is what this is all about. He has absolutely no intention of trying to even slow down the flow of humanity that's coming into our country. And it's really unfortunate because there is a lot of suffering that is taking place for all those people. You have been to the border. I've been to the border many times, both of us, and we have seen the suffering that takes place with all these folks as they travel throughout the region to try and get into the United States. They've got, I think up to 85,000 children now that are unaccounted for that have been released into the country. Where are they located? Where have they been sent? What kind of conditions are they living in? Had they been sold into slavery? There are so many terrible things that are happening to people that are coming up into this country. And that's before we even start having discussions about what is the true cost to the United States. I've heard estimates as much as $150 billion a year in order for us to house, medicate, and educate all of the illegals that are coming in, because as they claim asylum status, and they are given a hearing date, sometimes 7 and 8 years out from when they cross into the country. They are here on parole status until that time, which means they're allowed to roam around the country. However, as illegal immigrants and parole status, they're not allowed to work legally. So that means they become dependent upon our entire system. So we are creating a permanent underclass, and this is not humane. And the way that these folks are treated on the way traveling here is not humane. And we haven't even begun the discussion about how the cartels have been enriched to the tune of billions and billions of dollars as they are conducting all this human trafficking that's taking place right now. And then there's fentanyl.
Yeah, and then there's fentanyl, and I mean, you just go on and on. So many great points you bring up, Congressman, and it's all part of the plan. He says it's just insanity. Real quickly, I want to hit on a couple of other topics with you, but could all of this have been avoided?
Oh, absolutely, it could have been. And what you're seeing now is the actual policies that would keep this from taking place that were initiated under the Trump administration when we saw that tide of humanity slowed to a little trickle It was policies, not money being thrown at the border, but it was policies. The Remain in Mexico policy, which I tried to get into statute 2 years ago and introduced a bill to do just that, which says, okay, if you come to the American border and you're going to claim asylum status, you can make that claim, but you're not released into the United States until you await your hearing date to find out if you're eligible. You wait in Mexico until that hearing date. And just by that one simple thing alone, Jody, we were able to have 75% of the people who claimed asylum status return to their country of origin. And so things like that, which were contained in HR 2. So we passed an immigration and southern border bill, HR 2, just yesterday. It's going to the Senate. And now we're going to find out how many people are truly interested in securing the United States sovereignty.
Absolutely. Well, we're going to be keeping a pulse on that as it works its way through the Senate and see what happens. But it's just absolutely stunning. As you mentioned, we've both seen it firsthand on the border. If I can switch gears with you, Congressman, you joined a contingent of some of your fellow House colleagues to go over to the Senate floor this week to show your support for Senator Tuberville and the incredible job he's doing to stop the military's illegal abortion policy. Man, why do you think it's so important now, as you and others have done, to show support to the coach that we have his back right now?
Look, the sanctity of life is the most important thing for us to fight for up here, Jody. You and I have sat together for many hours there on the floor. We know the sanctity of life is the most important thing that we can fight for. And so there was a group of about 10 that once we heard that Senator Tuberville was putting a hold on the Department of Defense nominations until that they would agree to remove these policies of paying for abortions, that we were going to be there to back him up, so that he knew that he was not the only one in the room to support that effort. And we filed in and sat in there as he gave his speech to defend the sanctity of life. And by golly, there's plenty of us that are there with him.
Well, I just want to say thank you and the others. I believe there are 10 or 11 of you in all who went over there. I want to thank all of you for showing support. And I want to encourage our viewers and listeners right now to do the same, to pray for Senator Tuberville and to support him. Let him know this is a thankless job. It's a thankless position. And sometimes when the arrows, and right now he has a lot of arrows coming at him. And that's why it just doubly means so much to me and so many others that you and others took time to go support him. And so thank you very much. One last topic before we go that I'd like to hit on, and that is, of course, the budget. Everyone's looking about this. President Biden and Speaker McCarthy were supposed to have had a meeting today, but it was postponed to who knows when. In the meantime, staffers on both sides are evidently talking behind the scenes, hopefully making some sort of progress. But the White House says that they're discussing the budget only, and they are not going to go down the path of debt ceiling negotiations. How do you interpret this? Where are we on this?
Oh, it's unfortunate. The House of Representatives did our job, and we sent a package over to the Senate to increase the debt ceiling. But we are not going to conduct business as usual. The American people did not send us up here to conduct business as usual. We are not kicking the can down the road any longer, Jody. And so we put together a 4-part plan and sent it over to the Senate. Part 1, freeze spending at 22 levels. Personally, I would like to have us freeze spending at 2019 levels. I think we had plenty of government in 2019, but as part of the negotiations, we landed on 22. The next thing was to claw back a bunch of the unspent money that this administration has recklessly tried to put into the economy. So we clawed back money that from COVID relief, so-called COVID relief that wasn't spent. We clawed back money for the funding for 87,000 IRS agents that I don't think anybody thinks that we need. We clawed back money from New Green Deal plans that were doing nothing more than filling the pockets of industries that were handpicked by the president.
You've got about 15 seconds, Congressman.
Pulled back $400 billion from our student loan redistribution program. We put that in the bucket. We raised the debt ceiling by $1.5 trillion on March 31st. It's time for the
awesome.
Senate and the president.
Let me, yes or no, are Republicans going to stay united as the pressure heats up?
I think they will.